something else that gained a lot of traction online was the Las Vegas launch and promotion weekend. We saw Formula One cars being driven down the strip, inside casinos of various hotels, underglow from Formula One cars. It was a scene, to say the least, as drivers have stayed over in North America between races. So I'm just curious, the optics and the promotion you guys got from Las Vegas, how much they're pumping into this in 2023. I don't know if you guys have seen ticket prices. They're outrageous. I thought Miami's ticket prices were outrageous. This is on a different level. I'm just curious your thoughts. And I know you guys love Brazil. Are you excited? Are you going to love Las Vegas come this time next year?
The expectations are set so unbelievably high. I mean, this is a difficult thing. Is that I don't remember a new race having a kind of launch event a year out before. We've had like the odd launch event here or there, or kind of fairly understated things. But to get some of the biggest names in the sport driving cars at the venue a year in advance is something else, So there's that, and then I mean, there's various different ticket prices I've seen going around. I think. You can up to 12,900 for VIP hospitality. I think 10,000 for a skybox. I'm not entirely sure what a skybox is or where it will be, but for one of those, it's 10 grand per person.
You get to hang out with Ted.
Yeah. Well, yes.
He might not be allowed to do the coverage by then. Who knows?
Yeah, won't be many takers from Red Bull. But general admission, and this is the one which Nate and I pulled out earlier this week, and we were talking about. The price I saw was $778 for your general admission ticket. That's already very expensive. Most places in the world, general admission, I mean, $250 would be probably the going rate, but you can certainly get much cheaper races. And then it comes with the caveat, track visibility uncertain. So $778 spent. Will you actually get to see an F1 car? It's not guaranteed. It could mean that perhaps the exact amount of visibility is uncertain. You might just get a little section of track rather than a proper few corners, which is what you might expect when you spend $778 on a ticket. But it's interesting, and it'll be very interesting to see who goes, the kind of type of people that are able to afford those tickets, whether they're real fans, whether that really matters, and whether it's as much about going there to be seen to be there, to enjoy everything that I'm sure will go on around the race weekend as well, as much as the racing itself. But we can poke fun at these ticket prices and all this kind of stuff, but they sold out pretty much immediately. So the demand is there, and and that's why I'm just like slightly concerned, because this expectation is so high. All these people going there, I don't really know quite what they're expecting, but sometimes people, when they first go to a race, they expect to see maybe the whole track and have a really kind of overarching view of what's going on in a race. And sometimes you can be stood by a racetrack and have less of a clue what's going on than if you'd sat at home and watched on your TV. But anyway, I'm sure it will be a race unlike any other for whatever reason that may be, and it will be something to experience either way.
On the casino thing, I hope they told the people who were gambling at that time there was going to be an F1 car coming through, because if I'd had a few to drink and I was at Vegas, if I saw that, I'd be like, no, that's probably a sign to either keep gambling or to just go home and never do it again, because I'm clearly too far in. But I agree with Laurence. I mean, I go through phases with Vegas where sometimes I'm really excited about it because, I mean, we'll get to go and we'll get to experience the whole thing. But there's been a lot of races this year that have been established races, and they've been, from a fan enjoyment perspective, have been a bit of a mess. There've been a lot of fans who've come away from events all over the place, Monza and Austria and all sorts of places for different reasons, not having the best time. A lot of circuits have been trying to just cram as many people in as they can, safely. There's never been a concern over dangerous amounts of people in. There's been so many people in that the infrastructure of those circuits can't deal with them. Now, Vegas obviously is different as it's a city, but one of the things that happened in Miami, which a lot of people took kind of a bit of glee in, it's a bit like the Fire Festival kind of documentary where all the rich people are complaining that they had a bad time and everyone was like, well, that's brilliant. But one thing that happened in Miami across the board with VIPs was people were paying these kind of prices for tickets, influencers and celebrities and stuff. And from what I understand, in one of the places, they were basically sat all in on a flat surface in rows of chairs. So if you were anywhere but the front row, all you could see was the back of the person's head in front of you. Now, if you're cramming out, hotel balconies and stuff like that, I don't know what visibility is going to be like if you're paying that amount of money. I'm sure it will look breathtaking for a while, but that wears off. Even as great as Formula One is, that I think you might do it once and be like, oh, that everything. I think what F1's banking on is that everything around it is going to be so good. People are going to be like, you can't ever miss the Vegas Grand Prix. Like that weekend has become an event in my calendar that I'm never going to go back to. But I just don't think this is ever going to be a race for an ordinary F1 fan, and that's a bit of a shame. But you can't. I suppose that's what it's always looked like it's going to be the case. And from a car perspective, I think neon lights at the bottom of a car looked amazing. It's a bit like when they put the sparks back in cars. Like immediately, you just thought that should have always been on them, or the sparks was a little bit different. But yeah, so I think visually it's going to be amazing. But jury's very much out, I think, on how good it will be.
Laurence, what did you say the terminology was? Visibility questionable, visibility unknown.
Let me double check.
I think
track visibility uncertain.
That's even more.
You should be able to sell a ticket that with visibility uncertain.
Because that could be anything, like you said, Laurence. Of like, it could be, you get a flash of a car come past you. But there are some circuits where I remember my dad and I went to Monza in 2006, and we were at the Parabolica. We had general admission tickets. We found great seats. We kept walking around, but there's one point at the Parabolica where all you could see was between two trees, and you'd get a flash, and the only way you'd know which car it was because of the color. And but you knew which one was Michael in the Ferrari because he was the one miles out in front. Then there'd be another red one that followed, 20 seconds later. But I remember thinking there were people that were just camped there the whole race. So there might be views like that in Vegas where literally you're just seeing and hearing cars go by without really knowing what's going on, and that's not really worth that money. Unless people are spending it, so I guess they feel like it might be worth the risk.
And the other thing is, if you look at Monaco, it's actually fairly similar. People spend a lot of money, and it's not necessarily to watch the race, like know the ins and outs of tire strategies and perhaps even know the drivers' names. It's there to have fun. So a lot of those yachts that line part of the circuit, a bunch of them are moved back on race day and qualifying day for safety reasons. And actually, once they're back there, you don't have a brilliant view, but that's kind of not the point. You're not going there, to see the cars. And then equally, the general admission section at Monaco is up on a hill that goes up to the palace, and it's a very steep hill. I'm not quite sure how they managed to sell tickets for people just to sit there, and there's no seats. You're kind of stood on this banking, and often I've seen people end up behind trees and stuff like that. Again, with no real visibility of the track. You only really get to see a corner anyway from a long way away. So we can kind of criticize Vegas to some extent, but it does kind of already exist, that type of race, that style of race with Monaco. And I think as long as we only have 1 or 2 or 3 of these races a year, it's perfectly fine. I think it adds to everything that Formula One is. And when you've got 24 races a year, maybe 23 next year, but 24 is what's scheduled, to have 2-3 races where it really is a VIP event. You build all this hype around it, and then people can still enjoy it and watch it from TV, watch it on TV. I think that's perfectly fine for a sport like Formula One.
Not a lot of trees in Las Vegas. Just going to throw that out there. Plenty of stands.
That's true, yeah. Climbing hotels maybe instead.
Yeah,
climbing
hotels a lot.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content plus live streaming, make sure to subscribe to ESPN Player.